Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? So this has been a video I've wanted to make for a while because it's been something that has changed my life completely and just has blown me away spiritually, emotionally, and everything. So I'm going to talk about being baptized in the Holy Spirit or speaking in tongues. And I grew up in a church that we didn't really wasn't something that we talked about, but it wasn't something that anybody did or was practicing. I grew up in a Baptist church, and we believed in being born again and everything like that. So this video is really to explain this to those people and to unbelievers, exactly what speaking in tongues is. So when I was about 22, I'm 41 now, so almost 20 years I've been doing it, and I've only recently started talking about it. But I went to a Pentecostal service because there was a cute girl there that I wanted to date, yada yada yada. I'm over there at the service with her. Pastor Kevin Cole, I remember the guy's name, comes up to me, "Hey Brian, you need to be baptized, you got to do this, man, da, 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 da." And I'm going like, okay, well, what's gonna happen? Like, it's probably not even a thing. So calls over a couple guys, they lay hands on me and they start praying in some yucca ducka durka durka language that I have no idea. But when they were doing it, I said, I'm gonna keep my heart open and just like respect this as a person, and and if it doesn't happen, no biggie, you know what I mean? So they did it, and I felt something start changing in me that was more than a placebo effect. It almost felt like I got hit by lightning. And I left there and I went home, and they say to just start praying and to see if it's going to happen. And it didn't happen for like a week, until one day I remember where I was. I was in the parking lot at Emmett Belknap Junior High, and I started praying, and it just came out like it sounds like somebody speaking Arabic. And I was like, holy, I said, I can't believe that just happened. And I did it again. And it just became such a thing that I did before I even knew that it's basically the language that the devil can't decipher your prayers, and that you're praying, the Spirit is going before God to pray for like future stuff. But I can tell you, it has been, and I tell people, it's like, imagine you were alive in the 70s and you're like talking about turntables and 8-tracks, and you're telling people, listen, I got a thing that's like the internet, okay? Like, and they're like, what do you mean? What is that? Well, it's like I can get all this information. I just go on this little thing and I pull it up, and they're like, what do you mean you go on a little calculator-like device? And so I tell people, I've seen such crazy things through this, from God communicating with me through signs and symbols, that I would think when people used to say, oh yeah, God, sent me a signal, I'd go, come on, man, you work at CVS. I highly doubt he's got time to send you anything. I would laugh at it, you know what I mean? Or when people would say, no, I heard God or the Holy Spirit move and tell me, I'd go, okay, this just sounds like more crazy talk, but whatever. Then it started happening, like all of a sudden my intuition, like would just go through the roof. I would have these experiences where I said, it literally was like God started saying, this is what's going to happen, and I want you to say that I told you. So, okay, the last one that really happened was I was at a church service down here with men, at a men's like dinner thing, and this guy was talking about his wife. And so what happens is I start getting this, like I'm getting it right now, this tightness in my chest, and I can't breathe. And then all of a sudden this message comes in, and God told me, tell him I've got a word for you, and his wife isn't gonna have to worry about having any problems at that job anymore. And that was pretty much the word. Like, you don't have to worry about it. It ain't going to be a thing that much longer. So the next day, she lost her job, and it was no longer a thing she had to worry about. But stuff like that started happening, and bigger stuff, like God told me to tell my brother before he moved to California, don't move to California because you're not going to live long out there. And he died shortly after that. And I came and told him, he said, you are to come drive 45 minutes and come tell him what I'm telling you, and just tell him. And I said, are you sure? And I just kept battling back and forth, and I go, man, I don't really want to drive an hour to tell him not to, but he told me to do it, so I did it, and that's what happened. So it's almost like having the internet in the 70s. But what it really did was, when I was in a time period where I was questioning, man, maybe the Bible isn't true, and maybe there isn't a God, maybe this is an explosion, and we came, have like this thing that Joe Rogan talks about happened. But I kept coming back to, yeah, but you can speak in tongues, and you have this magical, where would this intuitive, prophetic, knowledgeable, discernment type stuff come from if there was nothing for it to come from, okay? Like, it's not coming from Mother Nature or Father Time. And when I speak in this language, and this is in a book that was written 6,000, 10,000 years ago, and it's still happening today, I said, there's all the proof that you need that that this is true. So go out into the world and start telling people. But I didn't start telling people immediately. But after I got sober, I really felt like God was telling me, listen, this isn't something you say to become popular. It's kind of like something that people would clown on you about. But when people get to know me and they know I'm a goofball, and then I tell them, listen, if we're talking about anything, I'll tell them, listen, I can speak in tongues. Do you know what I mean? And they'll go, really? And I'll go, yeah, absolutely. And they'll ask about it, and I'll tell them about it. And I'll just tell you, if you're in a church that doesn't practice this, I'm telling you, you're really missing out on something that, it's like, if life is a video game, if you could get, like, you go to a certain board and they give you wings, or you could go to a certain board and you get this or whatever. This is like getting an extra thing to fight through the video game with. This is going to be a thing that, I'm telling you, it's been so concrete that I do it, man, I can't even tell you. I pray in it at least 2 or 3 times a day, and it's been a lifesaver, literally. It has helped me so much. And I can't stress it enough that now, yeah, I know that you believe in God and that you're saved and da-da-da-da, and you believe he rose again and this, that, and the other thing. Look at the sign. No loitering. Police take notice. Whoops. But now you will have, like, it's like getting hit by lightning. Now you will have concrete proof that this is a real thing. That you thought, like you had this faith and all that stuff, but now that faith is bigger than faith. It gives you that extra boost, and it's just a huge thing for your confidence when you're talking to people and you're out there and you're witnessing, and God will just tell you stuff, and it's just crazy. It is crazy, to think, but it's a legitimate thing that I feel like somehow people don't talk about it enough. And I think some Christians don't know nothing about it. Like I said, I grew up in the Baptist church, and we talked about it, but we never were versed in it or schooled in it. And it was probably the best thing, being out in the world and being homeless and being on drugs for the last 10 years and being in jail and working at a jail. And I mean, it's been something that's helped me, navigate through, and people talk about I'm not going to get into losing your salvation, but people talk about how, like it says in the Bible, God will never leave you or forsake you. But, and some people, try to say that you can get unsaved, but I don't believe that, because anytime I was out in the world, God would still be telling me stuff, and I could still speak in tongues. So the Holy Spirit has always been there, and it didn't leave. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you like it, feel free to share it, subscribe. You can message me on Messenger, and I appreciate you guys and girls for watching. Thank you.